Hi. Hi there. Yeah, this is the door. And I'm ready to install that. Let's get the Aqara u100 in place and on our door. Now, the first thing I gotta do is get it all set up inside of Aqara's app here. So this is the Aqara app. This is what it looked like today on Android. And I'm just gonna hit the plus and then I'm gonna hit add accessory. Now you get a search page. That's honestly what I think is the best to do. So I'm gonna search for U100. There it is right there. Just gonna tap on that. Now it's trying to find it and it's pulling a guide together for us. So check the list of accessories, install the door lock according to the instructions. Now the installation guidance is pretty significant here, but I'm gonna walk you through a lot of these steps. Now the door lock opening needs to reach 54 millimeters and actually there's a really great diagram here in the first moments of their video. And so the diameter here has to be 54 millimeters. You also then need from the edge of your door, it's got to go 70 millimeters. Now the door itself needs to be 35 to 55 millimeters wide itself. So you have some dimensions that you have to fit with this doorbell. So I'm just gonna do my measurement and I'm trying to get this as close as I can to accurate. That looks like 54 to me. Here, the width, we are 35 bang on. And when I go from the door to the middle, yeah, that's a 70 millimeter distance. So what Aqara wants you to do here is select 70 millimeters and then hit next. And what they're gonna show you is that you can rotate the body on this piece. So watch this. You just go like that and it rotates out. And the reason you are doing that is so that the length is enough when you put it into your door here. So this is the 60 mil, which could be your door. And then that's the 70 mil. Little ingenious design here. There is an indicator for top. So you do have to pay attention as you put this in your door. So we've got the top right here and we're just gonna insert that. And you should have some holes right here that you can kind of align. And then that should all go into your door frame just fine. And you've got this little top now sticking out there. We've rotated the body, it's in there, it's 180 degrees. So now we have to install something called the gusset plate. And more or less, you'll see this little receiver. It's gonna go in and then you're gonna drill or you're gonna screw in a couple of screws. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert this into the door frame and then this is going on top. Now you'll notice they've given you these little covers. Don't peel those off just yet. Now let me show you a couple of things I just ran into. Now it's kind of hard to see, but this is a round hole. That's a square peg. And I actually looked at my other two door frames, same deal. The other problem is, you gotta try and make some alignment. Now, this is pretty normal, but I looked at my own door frame and actually both of my door frames. They had a longer, what's called a gusset, I guess. It was all the way down to the door handle here. So this is not gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to put that on. Now, I don't think that's a big deal in this situation as long as the deadbolt is aligned here. And I think a few of you might run into that. So I am gonna abandon that. The next step in the process is actually attaching this. So you're gonna be outdoors for this part. Now, this right here is going through right here, okay? That's the one thing. The cable is gonna go underneath. So you gotta kind of get this aligned and then you're gonna push that through. Now, it's more important that you get that through than the cable because the cable can bend but the cable will go first. Now all you're trying to do is get that through and on right now in this step. So there we go. So here's our plate. I put one of the bolts through, but I wanted to show you it's going through here, and then you're actually trying to get it into the other side. Now the lock itself has 2 holes as well. So you're going through this into this. You've got to get all 3 lined up as you do this. So we can put the cable through first, and then we're going to put that through. And now they're all fairly well aligned. And I've put one of my bolts in my plate. And now you just got to get it started. And once you have one into the lock, things are going to become easier. So now I've got one into the other side of the lock. And let's see if I can get it. Now that initial part you might need a little help with. But now I can feel as I pull, I've got the lock in there. So now it's just a matter of screwing this down, which you could use a drill for, but I'm just gonna put this in there. Okay, now this might not be in perfect alignment right now. Just remember, you just gotta undo those 2 things if you're struggling here in the future, but we're ready for the next step. Now, of course, what they want you to do is make sure that if you rotate this, it's not stuck. And actually, mine is. So this has to align. All right, I'm just gonna open the door, and now you can see that comes out. But when I push this in, it's getting stuck, which means my hole here is not the right, it's not in the right spot. So this is something that you could run into, and at that point, you've got to make this hole a little bit bigger, or you've got to adjust where your gusset is. So I've got a little bit of work to do myself. I'll be back. Now, here's what I had to do. I mean, I'm gonna have to make that look a little nicer next time, but this is what they're telling you. You gotta make sure that you're all aligned. One of the things you can do is just measure distance from the bottom of this to the bottom of your door, and then just make sure that you're measuring both from the same spot. And then that will get you to a point where you can know if this is gonna fit in. When I had this made up, the guy actually missed. I was about halfway up the deadbolt here, which is why I did a whole extra cut. So I'll make that look a little nicer next time, but that's what I got for now. Okay, it's not the easiest thing to remove the cover on this, but you do have a little notch here, and you have this tool. Now I have the spudger, they call it. I have it pointed up, and I'm gonna get under here and just keep pushing. Hopefully you don't drop it like I just dropped it. But there you go. So we've got this cover off, but now we got to get in here, and there's a little under each, see right there, there's this little notch out, and it's actually on both sides, so you can pick either, but I'm coming at it from the bottom, and you make sure your spudger gets in there perfectly. Now I'm going to do it on an angle to get the first lift, and then I'm going to kind of click it in there and then lift up. Ugh. And all you got to do is get it to move a little bit. Man, that's tough. My spudger is pointed up, and it will bend over time, so you're going to want to think about that, but you just got to get it in there. And what I would do is come down at this angle, and then you get it jammed in as far as you can on these little tabs, and then you start lifting. Don't start lifting too early, but then you just got to get it to that point, and then it'll pop off for you. So now we have the lock disassembled. So now we just have a few more steps, and actually below the cover right here, you can pull that flap down And there you go. There's the data connection. Now what you need to do with this is make sure that these are aligned correctly. Now this, you can see the little nub is at the bottom, and that's gonna work with this right here. So I'm gonna get those plugged in. And then the second part of the process that you're gonna do basically right away is you're gonna get this inserted right here. So you'll want to check alignment. So is that locked right there? Yes, that's locked. Is the door locked right now? You're gonna wanna check what the situation is. So right like that, now I can't open the door. Okay, now it's like that. So right now it's unlocked. And when I look at this right here, you can see that's upright. So what I'm gonna want is it in that orientation, and that's gonna slip onto there. And you don't have to do this all at once, but I'm gonna do the data cable. And once you connect that data cable, you're pretty much stuck to the wall, right? So what I did with this rubber is I'm gonna push it in to make it easy. So I pushed it in, pushed it down, and then we're gonna connect this. You wanna be careful here because these are data pins. And then I guess the cable is gonna have to be pushed in a little into your door frame. And then you're just gonna click that on. Now it's at this moment that you've got to do a bit of alignment here. So let me just pull my door. I don't know why I'm reaching so far anyways. There you go. So here's the alignment, okay? And it's, you want to make sure, okay, can I move the lock right now? Nope. Why? Nobody knows. Oh, it's a little tough to do, but there you go, it did do it. Now, as part of this step, you want to get it aligned, and then these are going in. Now, where are they going? They're going into the plate that you had. There was two little poles, and that's where they're going. The nice thing about what Aqara has done here is you should be able to just start screwing if you've got this on there the right way. All the while you do this, you want to be watching that alignment, making sure you're as well aligned as you can be. And you don't have to tighten up everything 100% right now, but we're coming to the point where you probably should. They do not you won't feel any resistance until you get right to the end. So you won't even know they're catching unless you have a magnetic screwdriver, at which point you will know because you won't be pulling that out. So that's the only way I knew that that was working in there. Now I can test it. Everything's feeling about right. So it's right now you want to be checking that things are aligned well, things are working. You can tell that it's working in your door. So there you go. I know it looks a little ugly, but there you go. Things are working very smoothly. And that's how you know things are working. So we're now to the point where we can start checking everything to see how it works. Obviously, we've already checked this, but the other thing you're going to want to check is whether or not the keys are working on the other side of the door. So just check that, and then get the batteries that you got from Aqara out, and we're going to stick them in here right now. And actually, we are basically done. So you're going to install the faceplate when you're ready to go. I'm not going to do that quite yet, just because you can see there are some buttons here. So there's a set, a reset, and a home kit button. And in my opinion, you're going to want those to be visible for you here. Look at that. So now we're ready with the app, and look at that. Installation is complete. Hold the phone close to the door lock, open the battery cover. See, no point in putting the battery cover back on. Hit the set. On the other side, I've got to enter that number. It accepted that right away, which added it to Aqara's application. So now I have the ability to change the accessory name and the location in Aqara's app, but I'm just gonna hit next. You can add this card to the home page. So that would put it on the home page of Aqara's app, and you can change the icon. They have a number of icons here, but I think in general, one of these is gonna work. Now that's the way my door looks, but I'm just gonna call this the Aqara lock. I'm putting it on my home board, and now I'm hitting next, and now it's installing the control, the navigation, and the settings for this, and now we can start to add users to this. There you go, Bluetooth connection successful. And now I'm gonna add in a password. Let's make it really, really complex. Oops, almost screwed up my password. Okay, so I've added oh, it's too simple. Oh. Okay, fine, we're gonna trick ourselves a little. It is that, don't tell anyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Now this is just adding a single user. Now we can change their name. I'm gonna put in my name, there you go. Okay, now I'm gonna go over to the other side. Okay, don't yell at me. Now I had to do that 7 times. It was telling me a ton of things. This is my index finger. I think that's what you call this one. So I'm gonna hit done. And that has added me with both my Keycode, and that has added me with both my Keycode and my fingerprint. We can do lots more. Now, please close the door indoors and click start because they want to run a little bit of a test here. Feels super strong as I hear that motor. Test passed, all good. Please complete the following. Unlock the door. If it was locked, close the door and lock it. Okay. Unlock the door. If it was locked, close the door and lock it. Okay. So they wanted me to run through basically a manual run of that. Okay. Unlock and open the door, extend the latch with the knob, and close the door until the latch touches the edge of the door frame. Okay, so what you're gonna do here is open, and I gotta do that, and then you're gonna push the whole door back like that, and now you're gonna hit next. Now, they want us to close it. And I gotta close my door because things are a little tight here. And then we're gonna go next. Oh, I didn't lock the door. You normally gotta lock the door. Well, I guess they didn't care. Okay. Wow. So that's the basic setup for this lock, but we're gonna get into some of the settings and adding additional users, those kinds of things right now. One of the biggest things that you want to do in the app is to add different users, and this is right off the main page. Now, each user can have multiple passwords, multiple fingerprints, and even multiple NFC tags, although you do right now have to buy multiple NFC tags directly from Aqara. Each time you're adding a new password, you just type in the 6 to 10 digit code, and anytime you're doing the fingerprint, they're just going to ask you to add that. Now, of course, you can add different users, and as you do that, you have to pick a user type. You can see that the administrator and the general user is very similar, except you get some extra administrative capabilities. But you also have a temporary user, and that's probably very important for many of you to add people like dog walkers to your home. In the Aqara application, what you will notice is that the home page you have a home board, and if you add the lock to that, you'll get a quick unlock button. This is very useful, and then you have a quick tap to get into the actual lock. You're also going to get notifications on your phone, so just keep that in mind. This is the main interface page, and what you're going to notice is that there's a Bluetooth function. It's going to show you if it's connected to your phone through Bluetooth. When you come into this page, that'll take a few seconds to come in and move from gray to black. Then you'll notice a second icon. That's for a hub connection, and through the settings you can connect this smart lock to those different hubs that you have from Aqara in your home. In order to add this to a hub, we can actually go into the settings. You'll see hub at the top. Now it says bind a hub, and you will be choosing from all of the different hubs that are compatible with your U100 lock. Do this binding. You'll want to have your hub and the door in place when you do this, just to make sure that the connection is good. If it doesn't work through this binding, you might have to move your hub, because obviously you can't move your front door. But you'll also be able to, after you do this, you'll be able to see some information about the hub. And the third button, or the third status, is away mode. You can turn that on or off for this lock. Now below that, you're going to notice the logs. There is another option for one-time passwords. You can just hit add and it generates one for you. Now you can copy that, send it to friends and family that can get them into your home in a very quick way. There's a little share now button. Below that is the user management, and below that is a long press button. So you hold that for a couple of seconds, it'll unlock the door, or if it is unlocked, you can lock the door. Now the last function you need is top right, which is the 3 dots. That's going to get you into more settings. Now I went into alert settings. You can change the volume of what's playing physically through this device. You can even mute it if you'd like. I think in a lot of cases you're going to want high. Now, whether or not you'd like an alarm based on the door not being locked is this little radio button. For that specific alarm, you have volume, duration, and a timeout for how long you would like that alarm to go on for. The voice volume is just the volume of the overall lock, and you can pick from a few languages. So when it's actually speaking something, you can get a few of those. When you turn on this alarm, you will get notifications as long as you've allowed notifications through the application. So not only will you be getting that alarm on the device, but you'll be getting it from the app. The next feature is called Failed Attempt Lockout, and you get nice little descriptions here from Aqara. So this feature is about somebody trying to get into your home, putting the wrong credentials in 10 times within 10 minutes. And you can set the lockout time. It's automatically for 30 minutes. But then at that point, you'd only be able to use the key, Bluetooth with your phone, and a remote unlocking through your phone. This effectively locks out fingerprints. Now you can adjust that lockout time. The next feature is called remote unlocking, and it's basically a couple of toggles whether or not you want to have this available through your Aqara lock. You can do remote unlocking through a couple of different sources. These are just toggle buttons, and there's a quick way to head over to auto locking, because that's kind of part of this. So there's a remote auto locking feature, and you can determine, if the lock was unlocked remotely via something like Google or Amazon voice assistants, then how long do we want to wait till we lock it? Now there's also a swipe to lock function. So this allows you to use the keypad with a simple hand swipe. And there's an auto locking beta feature. So that would cause it to automatically lock after the door has been shut behind it. So these features, auto unlocking and remote locking, those are kind of tied together a little bit. The next feature is passage mode. As you're leaving your home, before you shut the door, you can hit 00 and then the lock button on the keypad to stop your lock from automatically locking. So if you're going out to put out garbage or something, then this allows you to disable that Whenever you leave your home, and you can do this in an automated way, you're probably going to want to put the lock into away mode. Now, if someone from the inside then opens the door or a key is being used, then you're going to get a notification out of this lock, because those things shouldn't happen until you're saying, hey, I'm back at home. To manage this effectively, we'll use automations, which I'll show you in just a few moments. The next feature is called Do Not Disturb mode. Obviously, that's going to stop a lot of the notifications from coming through. You can set start and end times if you'd like, but it won't stop all of the notifications. Now, the related items of the device are automations and scenes, so you can include this in both of those. Now, on the if side of things, we have a lot of different options, and this can be one of the most beneficial pieces of the U100. Everything from the lock being locked to all of the different ways you can unlock this lock. So it's everything from the different methods like Bluetooth versus fingerprints or passcodes, to things like the one-time passcode. So when someone's used that one-time passcode, you probably want to know about that specifically, or you might want to run a specific automation. There are also starters or conditions that you can use with this lock for specific people. So you can make automations that are based on a specific person. If they use their finger or their assigned passcodes, those are easy automations to make. Also, if you've unlocked with Amazon or Google, you can run different automations with those, and you can see if away mode is enabled or disabled or some of those other modes. So these are really, really unique automation options. And you can choose that all of the conditions are met or any of the conditions are met. You'll see that option at the top of the if statement if you just tap that. And the acting time that you see next to each of these conditions means that you can set a period of time during the day. And yes, that can be set per condition. Now on the flip side, we have the then feature. So these are the actions you can take, and you're noticing that unlock is grayed out. At some point this might come in, and I think some of the facial recognition with their G4 video doorbell will likely come in the future, but right now you can't automatically unlock this. You can lock it, enable and disable those away modes. So for example, you can use their geolocation on your phone and in the app here. So when you leave, you turn on away mode. When you come back, you turn it off. That won't be perfect, but it is something you can look at. Now, scenes are just the action side of automations, so you can do those different actions that you could. That just becomes a single tap button or something you can use in the voice assistant applications, which, by the way, there is a other platforms setting here, but there's not much you can do with it. You're going to connect this using Amazon's skill store. But what you're noticing right now is that I have to get my Bluetooth connected to the lock for many of these settings. And this is a detail that you might be frustrated by the first couple of times, but just be around the lock when you're dealing with settings, and you won't run into this problem. You can see there's an option with Amazon to allow it to unlock. Now, on the Amazon side, you will be setting a PIN code inside of their application. So once you have that connected, you have to set a PIN code in that app. And then you will have to give that as a response to Amazon's voice assistant. Now, you also have the firmware upgrade, the user guide, the privacy agreement, and a plugin version number, and the ability to remove the accessory. You'll want to go through and do those firmware upgrades. Sometimes it can take 2 or 3 tries with this lock, but you get those firmware upgrades in there as often as you can. You get little prompts as you come into the Aqara app. But right now, what you want to do is check out our full review of the U100's smart lock, because it's quite a different lock and there's a lot of different features that you can use. Thanks for watching today, and of course, don't hate, automate.